Alright guys, Technical Bit here again today, and we have some big news that came out last night to do with, well, the state of franchising. There's a lot to talk about today, and likely this kind of content on franchising will stretch over many videos, because there's honestly so much to talk about. I'll definitely, hopefully be getting a guest on, someone who's, maybe a pro, maybe someone up in the scene to give some thoughts on exactly how this is going, because, obviously my voice doesn't sound overly positive. I think in the long term, maybe there's a chance that this stuff works. I think in the short term, the overwhelming community reaction over the last day or so about this news has been overwhelmingly negative, which I completely understand for, those who are watching my video who, watch Call of Duty a lot, and have seen Call of Duty develop over the last several years, seen the history involved, and see how Activision really is sending that down the drain. In the long term, maybe it'll work. We'll talk through that today, but first off, Call of Duty is going to change so much of franchising. It's going to be overwhelmingly different. Maybe even the players will be different because we've got this whole thing about maybe it's moving to PC. Now, I'll talk about that another day because it seemed obvious to me that when the PC rumors were announced, it was going to be okay. You're not going to be using keyboard and mouse. It's going to be on controller, something like that. But given this latest news and how they're really trying to, well, they're taking a really, really long-term approach and they're trying to make it like a normal sports league, I wouldn't necessarily put it past Activision to make it keyboard and mouse, even though I feel like that's still unlikely at the current time. I'll talk about that in future days. So today we're going to talk about the teams are supposedly going to be forced to change their names, which I guess has been what we expected for a long time, but I think a lot of people were hoping it wouldn't happen. But anyway, let's get in with the content of the video. Like if you guys enjoy, subscribe if you are new as always, and thanks for all the subscribers on yesterday's video. As always, got something like 150 overnight, which is quality stuff. So first up, this from CoD. I'm going to be going through a lot of his posts. So all of these IMGA links and stuff have been removed off the internet by Activision, which definitely implies to me that this stuff is probably legit. It's the Streisand effect, If Activision didn't remove this stuff, making these copyright claims, these DMCAs, then you could argue that maybe this stuff is not necessarily legit. The fact they are removing it definitely points that direction. So this is something I touched on yesterday. Actually, 12 teams supposedly is going to be the number, which is rather small, and definitely means a lot of teams that we currently see in Call of Duty are going to be nowhere near, given 5 have already been confirmed. There's a lot of big names not yet to be confirmed. Of course, we talked about it yesterday. Optic, FaZe, 100 Thieves, Gen G, Luminosity, these kind of team names, Reciprocity, I'm sure they've got a fair bit of money going on. Not many of these teams are going to get in the league, let's put it that way. So this is one thing that started to come out yesterday. I'll just read through this for you guys. A lot of the media people, contacted me here and said they talked to lawyers and then told me what I can do to get all the 200 pictures out. Supposedly, Coburn's got 200 pictures from this Activision meeting at the end of April sometime that talked a lot about franchising and, well, someone supposedly took pictures of all of these slides. For now, I'm going to type up the text from the pictures. I don't know how many slides it is because these pictures were sent to me and some might be from the same slide, so I don't know if it's 200 slides. Here's something about the AM scene, but it's not about minor leagues like Overwatch has, but I think it's a step towards Overwatch like the Open event. So we'll just go through this. Each CDL team, Call of Duty League, I guess, will host city circuit events for their local markets. The league may provide the opportunity for winners of these events to compete on behalf of the teams. HMA, not exactly sure what that means. As part of the league-wide city circuit as a league tentpole event, teams may operate their city circuit event as an online or LAN event, and teams must adhere to the game mode, rule sets, and operational guidelines set forth by the league office. Specific execution and details and event manual must be provided to the teams at a later date well in advance of the season. The league office will determine the official name and brand architecture of the city circuit asset in coming months. The league officer requests teams must provide 2 to 4 local winners and cover their travel and accommodations to the league, and 1 to 2 tentpole events. At league tentpole events, the league officer will manage the on-site player logistics and competition operations for any circuit competition that takes place. Now, I'm not 100% sure what all this kind of points towards, but yeah, at least it does confirm to some degree that, well, I mean, we already knew, but the markets, the league, the teams, they have their own markets, right? And we did talk about it yesterday with, Dallas Envy or Dallas Fuel, as it is an Overwatch league. They've got their spot. They put a tweet out saying, what are we going to call our Call of Duty spot? The Dallas ? Now, well, let's get on to that now. Here we go then. Orgs can't keep their names. The branding development kicks off immediately upon signing the TPA, which has got to be some sort of partnership agreement or something like that, with an initial meeting to align on vision and discuss the process in detail. Team name. After aligning on brand vision, the league office will offer the team several options for a name. The team should choose one of these names as well as a backup option to pursue for full legal and trademark clearance. So what we're seeing here is, as in Overwatch League, the names are going to be, decided by Activision. Activision own the league, so they are going to have the defining authority as to what these teams are going to be called. I'm sure the organization's going to come up with some ideas, but at the end of the day, the league office is going to determine what the team name is going to be, or at least say that, okay, that's fine, and also what the team colours are going to be. The colours that fit within the visual identity of the league and the game, mesh well with existing teams, can translate well to uniform and other consumer products, and team logo and assets. In consult with the team, the league office will design a logo that meets the team's brand objectives and fits within the visual identity of the league and the game. So, okay, there it is. So what we're going to be seeing here is exactly what we've seen with the Overwatch League, where the organizations that own the franchise spot are going to have a different name. Now, I know a lot of you guys will have heard this thing about, so Envy was the Dallas Fuel for Overwatch. Why don't we have the Dallas Envy or something like that in Call of Duty? Why don't we have the Houston Green Wall or the Houston OGs or something like that? Firstly, I saw a funny comment on the Optic Gaming subreddit that was like, Houston, Texas, probably don't want to be talking about walls down there. Might be a bit of a touchy subject. But look, this was inevitable. Activision are thinking big here, and they're thinking long term. They're looking at, say, Los Angeles as a city, and they're saying, okay, they've got a basketball team, they've got a hockey team, they've got a football team. And, these are the teams that are not necessarily owned by the same ownership group. Right now, Team Envious will own the Dallas Fuel for Overwatch, and they'll own the Dallas, Killers, whatever it might happen to be, for the Call of Duty League. But what if, in future, Envy decide to sell on this spot to some other owner? Let's say the same thing happens with Optic Gaming. They have the Houston Green Wall for Optic. They sell it on to someone else. That other ownership group doesn't really be called the Green Wall when that's Optic's thing, and they're now no longer the ownership group. So I can almost guarantee you that is not going to happen, and I would be incredibly surprised if it does. I think that almost certainly we're going to get names exactly like what we have in Overwatch, and the current branding of the teams is going to completely disappear. It's possible we can stick with the current colours of something like Optic Gaming for the Houston, Desperados, whatever it's going to happen to be, but I can almost be sure that it's not going to be anything Optic Gaming related, which on the surface doesn't seem like a good decision, especially for the current fans. And this is a very drastic change. They're looking very long term here. They're thinking, okay, well, the same ownership group might, I guess they are thinking big. One of my concerns with this is the fact that we're localizing it. It takes away to some of the global nature, and I think it does to some degree. But at the same time, Activision are thinking, first of all, Activision are thinking this is a proven way to get a lot of money. And that's definitely high up on their agenda. But another thing they're probably thinking is, well, when a kid is coming out of school, are we going to put, does he go to the American football team? Is that his favourite sport? Is his favourite sport hockey? Is his favourite sport basketball, Can we introduce to that the favourite sports being Overwatch and Call of Duty as well? Is that a legitimate, option for these guys' careers? And that's kind of cool in theory. But the fact that you're getting rid of these team names that have built Call of Duty, that was the thing in Overwatch. Overwatch had only been around a year and a half or something. There wasn't the same history behind it that we have here in Call of Duty. And I do think it's definitely a big shame for a lot of current fans. I think that I'll talk in probably tomorrow's video or something like that over some real reaction and opinion to this, because I'm already going on a fair bit. But Call of Duty has so much history behind these organizations, and they're effectively going to disappear out of the spotlight. And, they're going down this franchising route, of course. That's how it is. They're going down this American sports route. And me being from the UK, I'm not exactly familiar with this system. I'm familiar with the leagues we have over here where people can get promoted and relegated and all this sort of stuff. At the end of the day, it kind of seems to me that franchising is just a great way to make money. But in terms of the competitiveness and that, I'm not yet sold. And I definitely think in the short term, this is not going to be a good thing for fans. I think that if Activision can get their marketing department really going, there's a great chance here. Because it is their league, there's so much money invested, they need this to succeed. It could be really good for Call of Duty in terms of getting more casual fans into the scene. But I think in terms of you guys watching this, I'm sure your reaction to this is generally overwhelmingly negative, because the teams that you support and your favourite teams, their organisation, that name isn't going to be there anymore. And if they're going to take that step to completely destroy the whole notion of an Optic Gaming or whatever, like, if Call of Duty is still around in 20 years time, is Optic Gaming even going to be remembered? You know, it's interesting. Is it just going to be the Dallas whatever they happen to be? So well, we'll have to see. One other thing, though, that if they're going to take this harsher step, effectively, one thing that Codburner was saying is that next year, if Optic Gaming do manage to get their spot, as we talked about yesterday, into the CWL or the CDL, whatever it's going to be called, will there be some sort of draft to determine the players? He was saying that, like, if, say, Optic Gaming win the next 3 events, they come out the year looking on fire, next year the Optic Gaming team, the Dallas whatever team, are not going to be those same 5 players. He reckons that there's 7 players on a team, 2 of them being substitutes, 5 of them being the main roster, and there may be some sort of draft. Because if you think about it, if you're an organisation, you're paying a lot of money, you're a venture capital firm to get a spot, you don't want to be getting stuck with a lower tier team at that end of the spectrum. You want to get a chance to have some of the best players on your team. It would not surprise me if they go down this route of a draft and they say that, okay, Optic, choose your pick of all the players. Okay, we'll have Dashi, thank you very much. And then the next team does the same, and Scump ends up on another team, and JCab and Clayster are playing on the same team because that's what the organisations have decided. That's how they've drafted them. And all this history goes out the window because these players are going to be making bank. Probably not too much of a big deal for them, but in terms of a fan who understands the history, understands the rivalries between these players, it's not happy at all. Are we going to have the same E-Classico feel between Optic Gaming and Envious next year? I doubt it very much. I'm from the UK. I love the fact of reciprocity. All those lads are from the UK. That's a UK team. Next year, you know, Dylan probably going to get snapped up by a pretty damn good team. Zed might be as well, depending on how good he is towards the end of the year. We're not going to have any more like a national team, and that's what I love so much about CSGO, for example, is that a lot of teams are the national teams, you know, like if I'm from Denmark, I can support the Danish team, or I can support the French team, or I can support the Swedish team. You can't do that in Call of Duty the way it's going, and okay, that's how most mainstream sports are when the sport is located in a particular city, but the players within a team are international. And okay, Activision's thinking big, they're thinking long term, they're thinking how do we make a lot of money? This is how a lot of sports do it. Well, at least in the UK, it works that way. You know, Manchester United, all the other big football teams, their players aren't just from England or just from that city or however it may be. But I still feel like it's not guaranteed that this is the best way to do it. And I know that Activision understand that there is a lot of money in the back pocket here that they can potentially exploit. But of course, I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts on this, guys. I'll go through some more discussion on this probably tomorrow and the next day. This will be a topic for a while to come, I'm sure. And yeah, I'm sure you guys have better opinions and well thought out opinions than I have. So yeah, feel free to leave them down below. I'd always be really interested. Yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. Like if you guys enjoyed, subscribe if you were new as always. Come up with a name for Optic Gaming, I guess. The Houston ? The Dallas ? For Envy. You know, Call of Duty is going to change a lot. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Protect the objective. You are our last combat asset. Complete the mission. Bomb planted. Bomb deactivated. Good job, CDP. Do it again and let's go.